Well, happy November. It is that time again for us to talk about our housing market update. And this is for the month of November 2025 for Southern Northern Virginia. So stick around. My name is Sean. I help run the 1245 team. And I want to give you a lot of data today to help you understand about the market, but also we're going to do 5 trivia questions at the end, which will actually teach you a lot about the current buyer market, how they are reacting and what they're doing. So make sure you stick around to the very end. So let's dive into the numbers. All right, so as we look at the numbers, we always start with inventory. This is availability. How many homes are on the market right now in the southern portion of Northern Virginia? And we always assess month over month. So right now we have 2,423 houses on the market. That is 2.42% less than we had at this point last month. Now, what's interesting about that is this is the first month that we have had less inventory month over month in the last 6 months. So literally for the last 6 months, every month, there's been more inventory every single month. And if you were watching what was going on last year, every month it was decreasing. And we've been increasing every month until now. But the reality is this is a normalizing market. We are seeing seasonality. So the fact that we are, almost 2.5% lower availability isn't surprising because less homes come on the market in November, December, and January. So this is nothing out of the norm. Under contracts is encouraging. We are up 2.75% on pendings at the very moment versus this time 30 days ago. And that is very encouraging because even 30 days ago would have been the very beginning of October. That was homes going under contract typically in September. And September is the start of the fall market. So really this shows us we've had a very strong fall market. More homes are under contract than at this point last month here in November. So it's a good, strong market. I think a part of that is we had a lot more buyers come to the market because the interest rates hit a year low this past month. And so I think that's why we're seeing that. Sold the last 30 days, we had less sales the last 30 days than the previous, and that's not bad because that's kind of the homes that were closed in September went under contract in summer. It's kind of the end of the summer market, and this is the begin of the fall market. Months of inventory. We are at 2.46 months of inventory. So let's say 2.5 months of inventory. The reason why this is always important is because we always track between 1 to 3 months of inventory is a seller's market statistically. 3 to 5 months of inventory is kind of a neutral market. And then once we get over 5 months of inventory, we're in a buyer's market. So we're at 2.5%, which means we're technically still in a seller's market, though we are getting close to normalization. And we see that. We see sellers contributing towards buyers' closing costs more right now. But it's a neutral market. It's still good for sellers because if you look down to listed close price, you see that we're at 99.5%. So sellers are still getting almost within 0.5% of what they're asking for. So sellers are getting what they're asking for, close, and buyers are getting a little bit more concession. So that's why we track this 2.5 months of inventory. Days on market and median, we are up on that almost 6%. So average days on the market is 54 days right now, and median days on the market is 31 days in this local market of kind of the southern section of Northern Virginia, right? Kind of Fredericksburg and surround area. So average days on the market being at 54, that's every single house. Low, high price. I don't really go off of that number because right now we have a lot of listings that are just overpriced and not selling, or they don't show well, and they're not selling. So that number is skewed. I think that 31 days is a little more accurate. That's median price point. So the median price point right now is about $575,000. So if your house that you're selling is kind of in that 5 to 625 price point, you're kind of in that median price point. So your average days in the market is going to be right around 30 days. Now, if you have a luxury home, it might be longer. And if you have maybe a lower price point home where there's just a lot more buyers looking, it might even be less. But that kind of gives you a feel for the market. Anticipate 30 days on the market. Average showings, we're still tracking very similar, about 2.5 showings per week. And we've had markets where there was 9 showings per week on average. We're at 2.5. So that just tells you there's not as many looky-loos. You know what I mean? Like the buyers who just kind of come out and just want to look. They're not pre-qualified. The people that are out looking are pretty motivated. They don't feel the urgency that they have to buy something, but they want to buy something really nice. And so they are typically pre-qualified as they're coming out. Listed close price, we already talked about that, 99.5%, and then average sales price in that 575 price point. So, when we talk about these trivia questions here in a moment, I want to talk about these trivia questions because I actually think it teaches us a lot about the buyer's market. If you've been watching the real estate market, we're in a different market as a whole, and we have seen some changes with buyers. So let's start our game. 5 trivia questions for you to be able to answer. Keep track of how many you get right. Here is our question number 1, and it's all about how many offers. So here's the question. 45% of buyers made how many offers before buying their home? This year, 2025, 45% of the buyers made how many offers before they bought their first house? What do you think it is? A, 1 offer, B, 2, 3, or C, 3 offers, D, 4 offers? What do you think the answer is? The answer is A, number 1, 1 offer. Can you believe that? 45% of all the buyers in 2025 actually only made 1 offer before they bought the home. A lot different than we were seeing years ago. Question 2. This has to do with kind of the house hunting timeline, all right? What percentage of buyers went under contract in less than 1 month? So what we mean is they got in the market and started looking for a home, and they found one and went under contract in less than a month. What percentage of buyers did that? Was it 15%, 25%, 35%, or 45%? What do you think? Now the answer is C, 35%. 35% of buyers went under contract on a home and only looked for homes less than 1 month. And I think what is really interesting about that is last year at this time, it was 17% bought a house under a month. Meaning last year, literally almost 60% of buyers looked for homes for over 2 months before they went under contract. So that shows us a difference. I think buyers are understanding that the prices are what they are. And once they find a house they like, they jump on and buy it. So we're seeing buyers make faster decisions because they just kind of know what they want. And they've gotten through the reality that the market is harder than it used to be. Okay. I think that's kind of fascinating. Question three, and this has kind of just about why buy a house, right? Main reasons why buyers are buying. So here's the question. What was the number 1 reason buyers purchased a home this year? 2025, our local market, the number 1 reason buyers purchased a home this year. A, wanted more space. B, tired of renting. C, job relocation. D, growing family. What do you think? Well, the answer is B, tired of renting. 27% of all buyers this year bought because they were tired of renting. So the next one is family reasons. That was at 19% of all buyers bought because of just family reasons. And then it jumped down to 15% wanted a larger home. Then it jumped to 10% was job reasons. And only 3% was because they wanted a smaller home. So people still, they're tired of renting. They understand that their mortgage might be a little bit higher than renting, but people understand now the importance of home ownership, getting in early so they can start locking in their living expenses and benefiting from appreciation. So I thought that was pretty cool. Question four. This has to do with why didn't they buy a home? So what stopped 48% of buyers from purchasing a home this year? So out of all the buyers that got in, 48% of the buyers decided to not buy a home for what reason? One, interest rates are too high. Two, home prices too high. C, lost out on multiple offers. D, job loss. What do you think? The answer is B. Home prices are too high. Home prices of 48% of the buyers who got in the market jumped out of the market because they thought the home prices were too high. All right. So if that was you, if you can't afford the house, good. Don't go buy a house you can't afford. All right. I'm glad you got out of the market. But if you can't afford the house, it was not a smart decision. Because the reality is you can't time the market. All right. It's all about time in the market. Now, if you're looking to sell a house in a year or two, yeah, don't buy a house right now. But if you're looking to keep this house for 5+ years, buy a house right now. Just jump in. Okay. The reality is it's always about time in the market versus timing the market. That's just my 2 cents there for you. All right. Last question. Question 5 is actually about inspections. So very interesting stat. What percentage of buyers went under contract and backed out of it because of a home inspection? So out of all the buyers who went under contract, what percentage backed out due to home inspection problems? Is it 25.6%, 35.6%, 45.6%, or 55.6%? Shocking answer is C. 45.6% of all buyers backed out because of home inspection issues. Now, this teaches everybody something. You need to make, if you're selling a house, you really need to do a pre-home inspection. Okay. Buyers are picky. They don't want to deal with issues. Okay. And if they feel like a house has issues, they lose confidence in it. They don't want to go have this huge mortgage payment, more than they're comfortable with, if they just don't feel the house was maintained well. So my encouragement, guys, is don't put yourself in that position if you're selling, and do a pre-home inspection. Have a contractor identify and fix items before you actually put it on the market. Well, I hope you found that valuable. Hope you scored really well. Let me know what you scored. If you got all 5, I just want to give you an air high five, or a virtual air high five. Okay. So, all righty. Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Have a wonderful, wonderful November. Just giving gratitude. And if I can serve you in any way, don't hesitate to reach out. God bless.